The moment Alpha King Adrian Blackthorne rejected Maya Whitlock, the sacred flames did not die. They bowed to her. Every wolf in Silver Fang Pack saw it happen beneath the red moon, but no one understood what it meant at first, least of all Maya. She knelt in the center of the moon trial circle with cold stone biting through the thin fabric of her servant dress, her pale ivory skin washed silver by moonlight, her long dark auburn hair falling loose from a broken braid, and her silver-gray eyes fixed on the man who had just destroyed her with one sentence. Around her, hundreds of wolves stood in a silent ring, elders in black robes, warriors with crossed arms, Luna candidates in silk, servants pressed near the back where people like Maya were expected to stay invisible. They had dragged her here as a fraud, a broken Omega accused of using forbidden scent magic to trick the Alpha King into feeling a bond that should never have belonged to her. For 3 weeks, the pack had whispered that Maya was too weak to shift, too low to be chosen, too desperate to understand the difference between kindness and destiny. Tonight, they wanted her shame made official. Elder Malcolm Voss stood beside the moon altar with a silver staff in one hand and the old law scroll in the other. His face held the grave satisfaction of a man who had prepared the ending long before the trial began. Serena Vale watched from the Luna platform in white silk, golden hair shining like a crown already promised, her smile soft enough to look innocent from a distance and sharp enough to cut from close range. And above them all stood Adrian Blackthorne, the Alpha King of the Northern Packs, tall and broad-shouldered in a black ceremonial coat edged with silver, his light olive skin pale under the red moon. His dark hair brushed back from a face so handsome and cold it felt carved from judgment. His golden amber eyes did not leave Maya's face. That was the worst part. He looked at her as if he still felt something, and rejected her anyway. "Maya Whitlock," he said, voice low enough to make the whole pack lean closer, "before moon, flame, and witness, I reject this false bond." The words struck her more deeply than any shout could have. Maya did not fall because she had already been forced to her knees. She did not beg because begging would have given them the sound they were waiting for. She only pressed her right hand against the strange birthmark hidden beneath the collar of her dress, the mark her mother had once told her never to show under moonlight. It burned now, not like pain, but like a locked door finally remembering it had a key. Adrian's jaw tightened. For one impossible second, Maya thought he might take the words back. Instead, Elder Malcolm lifted the law scroll. The rejection is witnessed. The pack exhaled as one body. Some looked relieved. Some looked entertained. Serena stepped down from the platform with gentle cruelty in her eyes. Let the Omega be removed before her distress poisons the ceremony. That was when the sacred flames around the moon altar bent toward Maya. Not flickered. Not stirred. Bent. Silver fire lowered like living things recognizing a queen. The laughter died first. Then the whispers. Then even the elders stopped breathing. Heat rose beneath Maya's skin, bright and ancient, rushing from the hidden mark on her shoulder down her arm. Her wolf, the wolf everyone said she did not have, opened its eyes inside her soul. Adrian took one step toward her, his golden eyes flaring. "Maya," he said, and this time her name sounded like fear. The silver flame wrapped around her wrist and leapt across the circle, not to destroy, not to wound, but to mark. It touched Adrian's palm before the whole pack and left a crescent of light burning there, the exact mirror of the mark under Maya's skin. Everyone froze. Elder Malcolm's face went white. Serena's smile vanished. Maya slowly rose from her knees as the sacred flames gathered behind her like wings, and the broken Omega the pack had condemned looked at the Alpha King who had just rejected her. For the first time in her life, she heard her wolf speak clearly. "He is not the one who chose us. We are the one who chooses kings." 3 weeks before the moon trial, Maya Whitlock woke before the kitchen bells because broken Omegas were expected to be useful before anyone important opened their eyes. The servant wing of Silver Fang Pack House was always cold at that hour, even in spring, with stone floors that held the night inside them and narrow windows that let in more wind than light. Maya lay still on her thin cot for a few seconds, listening to the quiet breathing of the other girls in the room, and pressed her palm against the mark hidden beneath the left shoulder of her nightdress. It had warmed again during the night. Not enough to burn. Not enough to show. Just enough to remind her that something under her skin was awake when the rest of her was supposed to be empty. Everyone said Maya had no wolf. They said it kindly when they wanted to sound noble, cruelly when they wanted entertainment, and carelessly when they forgot she could hear them. A wolf who could not shift by 21 was a shame. An omega who could not shift was worse, because the pack had no patience for weakness that also failed to be useful in the expected way. So Maya became useful in every other way. She rose in the dark, tied her long dark auburn hair into a braid, washed her pale ivory face in water so cold it stole her breath, and dressed in the same gray servant gown she had mended at both sleeves. Her silver-gray eyes looked too large in the cracked mirror above the basin, tired and watchful, like someone much older staring out from a young woman's face. She pinched color into her cheeks because Serena Vale had once said dead flowers belonged in the compost, not the dining hall, and Maya had learned that beauty in a servant was an offense only when it looked effortless. By 5 in the morning, she was in the kitchen trimming vegetables, kneading bread dough, carrying firewood, and keeping her head down while higher-ranked wolves passed in and out for coffee and early orders. The head cook liked Maya when no one was watching. That was the safest kind of kindness in Silverfong. She would slide Maya an extra heel of bread or let her sit for 3 minutes near the stove when her hands shook from exhaustion. But if a court lady entered, the cook's voice sharpened at once. "Faster, girl. Luna candidates will not wait because your little fingers are tired." Maya always answered, "Yes, ma'am," because pride did not fill empty stomachs and anger did not soften floors. After breakfast trays were sent upstairs, Maya carried linens to the North Gallery where the Luna candidates prepared for the coming full moon season. The air there smelled of rose oil, expensive soap, and polished silver. Serena Vale stood before a tall mirror while 2 maids adjusted the pale blue gown she would wear to the afternoon council tea. She was beautiful in a way that made rooms agree with her before she spoke: golden hair, fair skin, soft lips, and eyes that had never needed to learn how to ask twice. When Maya entered, Serena looked at the linen basket first, then at Maya's face, then at the collar of her dress where the hidden mark rested beneath fabric. Maya fought the instinct to cover it. "How sweet," Serena said. "They sent the moonless one." One of the other candidates laughed behind her hand. Maya lowered the basket. "Fresh linens for the east rooms." Serena took a white towel from the pile and let it fall deliberately onto the floor. "That one is dirty." Maya bent to pick it up. Not quickly. Not slowly. She had learned that humiliation fed on visible reaction. Serena stepped closer, her perfume wrapping the air like silk over a blade. "Tell me, Maya, does it hurt when the others shift during moon runs? Watching them become what you never will." Maya folded the towel over her arm. "I am usually working during moon runs." "Of course you are." Serena smiled toward the mirror. "Everyone has a place." The words were quiet, almost gentle, and somehow worse because of it. Maya left with the dirty towel and the clean anger she kept locked behind her teeth. On the back stairs, she found a younger servant named Lily crying beside a dropped tray of tea biscuits. Lily was 16, newly presented as Omega, and terrified of every voice louder than her own. "They said I have to take another tray up," Lily whispered. "If I drop it again, Mrs. Hale will send me to laundry punishment." Maya looked at the broken biscuits, then at the staircase. "Go wash your face." "I will take it." "You already have stable duty." "Then I will smell interesting by supper." Lily gave a weak laugh. Maya gathered the tray and carried it herself, accepting the scolding meant for someone else without correcting the record. That was how Maya survived. Not by being fearless. By spending her fear carefully. By taking small wounds in places where they would not show. At midday, she was sent to the laundry yard behind the pack house, where steam rose from copper tubs and wet sheets snapped in the wind. Her hands turned red from hot water and soap lye. A group of young warriors crossed the yard on their way to training, laughing too loudly when they saw her. One of them, a broad-shouldered man with a fresh rank pin, called out, "Maya, when your wolf finally wakes, Will it fold sheets too? Another answered, maybe her wolf ran away from embarrassment. The others laughed. Maya wrung water from a sheet and hung it on the line. If it did, it had better sense than most people here. The laughter stopped for half a breath, then returned sharper, but she had already turned away. That was the danger in her, the thing no tonic had managed to fully quiet. She did not strike back in ways they could punish easily. She survived with dignity, and dignity irritated those who wanted obedience to look grateful. In the afternoon, a summons came from the stable master. The royal horses needed brushing before the Alpha King's inspection. Maya's pulse betrayed her before her face did. Alpha King Adrian Blackthorn had been at Silver Fong Pack House for 3 days, meeting elders, reviewing border reports, and enduring the endless parade of Luna candidates placed before him like jeweled offerings. Maya had seen him only twice from a distance. Once across the dining hall, where he stood beside Elder Malcolm Voss, tall and broad-shouldered in a black coat, his light olive skin warmed by candlelight, his dark hair brushed back, his golden amber eyes distant and unreadable. Once in the courtyard, when he turned as if sensing someone watching and his gaze found hers across 30 feet of rain. For 1 second, the world had gone strangely quiet. Then a guard stepped between them, and Maya remembered she was carrying a bucket of ash. In the stable, she worked beside a black stallion with a white star on its forehead, brushing mud from its coat while trying not to think of the king who owned it. Animals liked her better than people did. They did not ask why she could not shift. They did not care that her rank was low. The stallion huffed softly against her shoulder, and Maya smiled for the first time that day. At least one royal creature has manners, she whispered. He usually bites. The voice behind her was low, controlled, and close enough to make her freeze. Maya turned. Adrian Blackthorn stood at the stall entrance, no crown, no council cloak, only a dark riding coat that made him look less like a distant ruler and more dangerously real. He was taller up close, his presence filling the narrow stable aisle until the air felt smaller. His golden eyes moved from the horse to Maya's face, then to the place beneath her collar where the hidden mark suddenly warmed. She dropped into a quick bow. Your Majesty. You are not afraid of him. He did not give me a reason to be. A faint change touched his mouth, not quite a smile. Most people find reasons where I am concerned. Maya kept her eyes lowered because looking directly at an Alpha King was not forbidden exactly, but servants were punished for less. Most people have time. He was silent long enough that she wondered if she had offended him. Then he said, What is your name? The question should not have mattered. It was nothing. A king asking a servant for a name he would forget before dinner. But no one in the stable was laughing. No one was calling her broken. No one was looking through her. Maya answered, Maya Whitlock. Adrian repeated it once. Maya. Her mark burned under her dress so sharply that she nearly reached for it. His eyes narrowed, as if he felt something too. Then footsteps sounded outside, and Elder Malcolm entered the stable with Serena beside him. The warmth vanished from the air. Malcolm's gaze moved between Maya and the king, and something dark passed behind his calm expression. Serena's smile appeared slowly. Your Majesty, the council is waiting. Adrian did not move at once. His attention remained on Maya for one more dangerous second. Before he turned away. Then let them wait less. After he left, Malcolm stayed. He watched Maya until the stable felt colder than the servant wing. Did you take your tonic this morning? He asked. Maya's fingers tightened around the brush. Yes, Elder. Good. A girl with your condition must be careful. Hope can disturb an unstable omega. Serena stepped close enough to lift a strand of Maya's hair from her shoulder, revealing the edge of her collarbone but not the hidden mark beneath. Especially when she forgets where she belongs. Maya did not answer. She only stood still until they left, then pressed her hand over the burning mark and tried to breathe. That night, when the moon rose over Silver Fong Pack House, the mark under her shoulder glowed through her nightdress for the first time, faint and silver, shaped like a crescent surrounded by flame. Maya covered it with both hands, terrified and strangely alive. From far across the estate, a wolf howled, deep and royal, and something inside her answered before she could stop it. Maya did not sleep after the wolf answered. She sat on the edge of her narrow cot in the servant wing until dawn stained the window pale gray, one hand clamped over the hidden mark beneath her nightdress, the other pressed against her mouth to keep every frightened breath inside. Around her, the other servant girls slept in uneven rows, unaware that silver light had bloomed under Maya's skin like something buried too long beneath winter soil. For 21 years, she had been told there was nothing inside her worth fearing. No wolf. No strength. No future beyond laundry steam, kitchen smoke, and the kind of obedience people praised only because it made their lives easier. Yet when the royal wolf howled from somewhere beyond the estate, something in her had answered with such deep recognition that the silence afterward felt like a lie. Maya waited until the glow faded before she moved. She washed quickly, dressed in her gray servant gown, tied her long dark auburn hair into a braid, and fastened her collar higher than usual. The mark was hidden again, but not quiet. It warmed beneath the fabric in slow pulses, as if listening. That was what scared her most. Pain she understood. Humiliation she understood. Hunger, exhaustion, whispers, cold floors, and being looked through by people with softer hands and sharper smiles, she understood all of those. But this was different. This felt like waking up in her own body and finding a locked room she did not remember building. The first time Maya had seen the mark, she was 9 years old. She had been small enough to hide inside the root cellar behind sacks of winter potatoes, knees tucked under her chin, breath shaking as footsteps crossed the floorboards above. It was the night of the old moon ceremony, the night the pack history books later called a fire accident, though no one who survived it ever used those words where Elder Malcolm could hear. Maya remembered the smell of rain-soaked earth, candle wax, and her mother's lavender shawl wrapped around her shoulders. Her mother, Alara Whitlock, had been beautiful in a quiet way, with the same silver-gray eyes Maya would grow into and hair dark as autumn leaves after rain. She had not been high-ranking, at least not in the stories people told later, but wolves used to lower their voices when she entered a room. Maya remembered that too, though she had learned not to mention it. That night, Alara had knelt in front of her in the cellar and gripped both of Maya's hands. "Listen to me," she had whispered. "No matter what anyone says, you are not broken." Maya had been crying too hard to understand. Why are they angry? Her mother looked toward the cellar door, face pale but steady. Because some people fear a girl most when she has not become herself yet. Then Alara pulled Maya's nightdress aside just enough to uncover the small crescent mark on her shoulder. Under the moonlight leaking through a crack in the cellar wall, it shimmered silver for 1 second. Her mother covered it immediately. "Never let them see this under moonlight." "Is it bad?" Maya asked. Alara's eyes filled, but her voice did not break. "No, sweetheart. That is why they will call it bad." A shout sounded upstairs. Her mother stood, pressed a kiss to Maya's forehead, and pushed a bottle of dark tonic into her hands. "If Elder Malcolm gives you medicine, pretend to take it when you can. But if you cannot avoid it, survive. Promise me." "Where are you going?" "To buy you time." Those were the last words Maya ever heard from her mother. By morning, Alara Whitlock was gone, the moon ceremony records were sealed, and Elder Malcolm told the pack that Maya had inherited an unstable omega condition from a troubled bloodline. He said the tonic would calm her. He said it would keep her safe. He said many things in the same gentle voice people used when teaching children to accept cages as kindness. For years, Maya drank the bitter black liquid every full moon and every time the mark warmed. It made her sleepy. It made her hands cold. It wrapped fog around her thoughts and left her wolf dreams dull and distant, as if something inside her had been singing from the bottom of a lake. When she was 13 and failed her first shift, Malcolm stood before the pack mothers and shook his head with practiced sadness. Some wolves are born incomplete. When she was 16 and failed again, he placed a hand on her shoulder, directly over the hidden mark, and said, "Do not reach for what nature denied you." When she was 19 and the other Omegas joined moon runs without her, Serena Vale laughed softly and said, "Maybe the moon has standards." Maya learned to smile at the floor. She learned to make herself small in hallways. She learned which staircases creaked and which doors allowed her to slip away before people remembered they enjoyed hurting her feelings. But she never forgot her mother's warning. Not fully. It lived inside her like a coal hidden under ash. Never let them see the mark under moonlight. That warning was why Adrian's brief question in the stable had frightened her more than all of Serena's insults. "What is your name?" He had said it as if a name mattered. As if she was not an errand, a rank, or a problem to move aside. And when he repeated her name, the mark had answered him. Not the way it answered the moon, warm and secret. It answered him like a door opening toward fire. Maya hated herself for thinking about it while scrubbing breakfast pots that morning. She hated the fragile hope that had tried to rise when his golden eyes met hers. Hope was not safe in Silver Fong Pack House. Hope made girls forget the distance between servant corridors and royal chambers. Hope made them easy to accuse. By noon, the rumor had already changed shape. A kitchen maid said someone saw Maya speaking alone with the Alpha King's horse. A stable boy said the king had asked her name. By afternoon, a Luna candidate whispered that lowborn Omegas sometimes carried false scent charms to confuse powerful males. By evening, Serena entered the laundry yard with 2 attendants and a small glass vial held delicately between her fingers. Inside it shimmered pale blue liquid. "Maya," she said, sweet enough to gather witnesses, "this was found near the royal stable." Maya looked at the vial and felt the world narrow. "I have never seen that before." Serena's eyes were soft with public pity. "It smells like forced maid scent." The servants around them went silent. One of the warriors at the gate straightened. Maya's hands were wet from laundry water, red from soap, empty. She had nothing to hide, which meant she had nothing to prove either. "It is not mine." "Of course," Serena said. "Broken Omegas always dream above their place, but I hoped you were not foolish enough to use forbidden magic." Maya heard the trap click shut. Not in the vial. In the faces around her. People did not need to believe Serena fully. They only needed the accusation to explain something that made them uncomfortable. The way Adrian had looked at Maya in the stable, the way the royal horse had trusted her, the way a servant with no wolf had suddenly seemed visible. Elder Malcolm arrived before sunset, as if summoned by a script already written. He took the vial, looked at Maya, and sighed. "This will require formal review." "You know I did not do this," Maya said before she could stop herself. His expression chilled. "What I know is that unstable Omegas often misunderstand their own impulses." The words struck deeper because they sounded so familiar. Unstable. Incomplete. Troubled bloodline. Condition. Every label he had placed on her since childhood returned at once, neat and heavy, each one. Designed to make her doubt the one witness she still had, herself. That night, Malcolm gave her the tonic in front of Mrs. Hale. "Drink," he said. Maya took the cup. The liquid smelled bitter, metallic, old. For the first time since she was a child, she remembered her mother's exact words clearly. "If you cannot avoid it, survive." But if she could avoid it? Maya lifted the cup to her lips, pretended to swallow, and let most of the tonic slide into the sleeve cloth folded over her palm. Her heart pounded so hard she thought Malcolm would hear it. He watched her throat. She swallowed once barely. He nodded, satisfied. "Good girl." The words made something inside her bare its teeth. After he left, Maya hid in the pantry, wrung the ruined cloth into a drain, and waited for punishment from her own body. None came. Instead, as the moon rose, the mark beneath her collar warmed with clear silver heat. Not pain. Not sickness. Strength. For the first time, Maya wondered if the thing she had feared all her life was not the wolf inside her, but the people who had worked so hard to keep it asleep. Outside, the pack prepared for the coming moon trial. Inside the pantry, surrounded by flour sacks and hanging herbs, Maya pressed her hand over the hidden mark and whispered to the silence, "What are you?" This time, deep inside her soul, something answered not with words, but with breath. By sunrise, the accusation had become official enough to wear a seal. Maya was kneeling in the pantry scrubbing flour from the floor when Mrs. Hale appeared in the doorway with 2 palace guards behind her and fear carefully hidden under disapproval. "Maya Whitlock," the housekeeper said, refusing to meet her eyes, "you are summoned to the moon chamber by order of Elder Malcolm Voss." The words struck harder than a shout because the moon chamber was not a room servants entered. It belonged to trials, royal witnesses, Luna oaths, and old laws carved before any living wolf was born. Maya rose slowly, wiping her hands on her apron, aware of every servant watching from the kitchen door. Lily stood near the ovens with both hands over her mouth. The stable boy who had repeated the rumor would not. Look at her now. That was how shame traveled in Silver Fong Pack House. People helped carry it, then stared at the floor when it reached someone innocent. "May I change?" Maya asked. One guard looked at her gray dress, damp apron, and soap-reddened hands. His face softened for half a second. Mrs. Hale answered before he could. "The elders are waiting." Of course they were. Powerful people always called impatience justice when the person being summoned had no power to delay them. Maya removed her apron, smoothed her worn sleeves, and followed the guards out of the kitchen corridor, through the back passage, and into parts of the pack house she had only cleaned after midnight. The walls changed first. Servant stone became polished black marble. Smoke-stained lamps became silver sconces shaped like wolves. The air smelled of cedar, candle wax, and expensive perfume instead of bread dough and laundry steam. Each step pulled Maya farther from the world where she knew how to survive and closer to the world that decided whether survival was allowed. At the entrance to the moon chamber, 2 tall doors stood open beneath an arch of pale stone. Beyond them, the royal court had gathered as if this were ceremony instead of accusation. Elders lined the left side in dark robes. Luna candidates sat on cushioned benches to the right, silk skirts arranged like flowers around thorns. Pack warriors stood along the walls. At the center of the circular room rose the moon altar, a wide stone platform marked with silver veins and surrounded by low sacred flames that burned white-blue even in daylight. Above it, a round opening in the ceiling revealed the fading morning moon. Maya stopped at the threshold. Her hidden mark warmed under her collar. Not enough to glow. Enough to warn. Elder Malcolm stood beside the altar with the glass vial in his hand. Serena Vale sat behind him in pale lavender, fair skin smooth, golden hair pinned with pearl combs, her expression gentle and wounded, as if she were the one being dragged before everyone. And near the far side of the room stood Alpha King Adrian Blackthorn. He was dressed for council in a black coat edged with silver, tall and broad-shouldered, light olive skin set off by the dark color, golden amber eyes unreadable beneath brows drawn into controlled severity. When he saw Maya, something moved across his face too quickly to name. Surprise, perhaps. Or displeasure. Or the same strange recognition that had passed between them in the stable before the world rushed in to punish it. Malcolm lifted the vial. "Maya Whitlock, you have been accused of possessing forbidden mate scent within royal grounds." A murmur moved through the chamber. Maya felt it brush against her skin like cold fingers. "I did not possess it." Serena stood with graceful hesitation. "I wish I could believe that." Maya turned toward her. "Then try harder." Several candidates gasped. Serena's eyes flashed before she lowered them. "I only worry for the king. False scent magic can confuse even powerful instincts if used near royal blood." Adrian's gaze sharpened at that, not toward Maya, but toward the vial. Malcolm noticed and spoke quickly. The vial was discovered near the royal stable shortly after an unsupervised interaction between the accused and His Majesty. "I was brushing his horse," Maya said. "Because I was ordered to." One elder frowned. "Servants do not address the chamber unless granted leave." Maya looked at the old man. Her hands were shaking, but her voice did not. "Then grant it before you condemn me." The room fell silent. For a moment, no one seemed to know what to do with an Omega who sounded frightened and dignified at the same time. Adrian stepped forward. "She will answer." 3 words. "Lo. Final." The elder sat back. Maya hated the small relief that moved through her. She did not want gratitude for permission to defend herself. Still, The chamber had shifted because Adrian had spoken, and that was another cruelty of power. Truth sometimes needed a powerful mouth before anyone respected it. Malcolm placed the vial on a silver tray. The matter is serious. The Alpha King is under pressure to select a Luna before the full moon summit. Any attempt to manipulate his bond sense endangers pack stability. There it was. Not just a servant's mistake. Not just a rumor. A threat to the crown. Maya understood then that the accusation was not meant to punish her for something she had done. It was meant to explain something they feared might happen. If Adrian's wolf had noticed her, the court needed a reason that made her guilty before anyone asked why. Serena stepped closer to the altar. Perhaps Maya did not understand what she carried. A broken omega may mistake longing for destiny. Maya's mark warmed more sharply. Broken. The word had followed her like a shadow since childhood. Now Serena spoke it under sacred flames, dressing cruelty as pity for the whole court to admire. Adrian's joy tightened. Do not diagnose what you cannot see. Serena turned to him, wounded. I meant kindness. Then mean it more carefully. Maya looked at him despite herself. That was the second time he had corrected someone for her. Not defended her fully. Not cleared her. But made space. It was dangerous how much a starving heart noticed crumbs. Malcolm's voice hardened. To resolve this, the accused will place her hand upon the moon altar. If she carries false scent magic, the flame will expose it. If she is innocent, the flame will remain neutral. Maya's breath caught. Her mother's warning rose from memory with terrible clarity. Never let them see the mark under moonlight. The chamber was open to the fading moon above. The altar was older than any tonic. The sacred flames already leaned faintly toward her, so faintly she hoped no one else noticed. No, she said. Malcolm's eyes narrowed. No, I have been accused without proof by people who already call me broken. I will not place my body under unknown magic, because Serena found a vial no one saw me touch. The room stirred again, this time sharper. Serena whispered, if you are innocent, why are you afraid? Maya looked directly at her. Because innocent girls have been harmed by beautiful lies before. That cut deeper than she intended. Serena's face went still. Malcolm struck the end of his staff once against the stone floor, not violently, but with enough authority to make the chamber flinch. Under old moon law, refusal permits escalation to formal moon trial. Several elders looked uneasy. Adrian turned to Malcolm. This is excessive. It is required when royal bond manipulation is alleged. By whom? By the evidence before us. A vial found by a Luna candidate. Serena's cheeks colored. Malcolm's mouth thinned. Your Majesty, your concern does you credit, but it may also prove the danger. If the accused has influenced your instincts, leniency becomes evidence of contamination. Adrian went very still. Maya felt the trap close around him too. If he defended her, they would say she had already affected him. If he did not, they would call his silence proof of her guilt. This was not a trial. It was a room built to turn every answer into a chain. Malcolm looked back at Maya. Maya Whitlock, by authority of the Elder Council, you are ordered to stand at the moon trial in 3 nights. There, before Pack, Moon, Flame, and Alpha King, your status will be judged. If you are innocent, the moon will show it. If you are false, the Pack will be protected from you. Protected from her. Maya almost laughed. She had spent her life carrying trays, scrubbing floors, warming medicine for elders who forgot her name, and now they spoke as if she were a storm at the gate. Adrian's golden eyes met hers across the chamber. There was conflict in them, and something like apology, but not enough certainty. Not enough trust. That hurt more than Serena's accusation. Serena could hate her and remain simple. Adrian had looked at her as if he heard an echo inside himself, then still let the chamber carry her toward judgment. A guard approached to escort Maya out, but the sacred flame nearest the altar suddenly bent toward her ankle. Just an inch. A silver-white curve of heat, quiet and unmistakable. Maya froze. Adrian saw it. Malcolm saw Adrian see it. In that instant, the elder moved between them, blocking the king's view with his dark robe. Remove her, Malcolm ordered. Maya turned before the guard could touch her. She walked out on her own, every eye following the servant girl who had somehow made the sacred fire lean. In the corridor, Lily waited with tears on her cheeks, but Maya could not comfort her. The hidden mark beneath Maya's collar was no longer merely warm. It pulsed like a second heart. 3 nights. 1 trial. A room full of wolves waiting to prove she was nothing. Maya pressed her hand to the mark and kept walking, because for the first time, she was not entirely sure they were wrong to be afraid. The first day after the summons, Maya was moved from the servant wing to a guarded room near the moon chamber, and the pack called it mercy. The room had a real bed, a clean basin, and a narrow window facing the training yard, which meant every passing wolf could look up and see exactly where the accused Omega was being kept. It was not a prison, Elder Malcolm said, because the door was not locked from the outside. It was not freedom either, because 2 guards stood in the hallway and Mrs. Hale brought meals on trays she set down as if guilt might stain her hands. Maya ate because fear was easier to carry on a full stomach, but every bite tasted like waiting. By the second morning, the rumors had reached every corner of Silver Fong Pack House. Maya had cursed the Alpha King. Maya had stolen a Luna candidate's scent vial. Maya had hidden a forbidden charm beneath her dress. Maya had no wolf, but somehow had too much magic. The stories contradicted one another, but no one seemed troubled by that. People only required rumors to agree on one thing: Maya was dangerous enough to blame and weak enough to corner. She spent the day sitting beside the window, her pale ivory hands folded in her lap, her long dark auburn braid pulled over her left shoulder to hide the mark beneath her collar, watching warriors train below with wooden staffs and bright laughter. She used to bring them water. Now they looked up at her window as if she were the storm clouds gathering over the mountains. Near noon, Serena Vale entered without knocking, followed by 2 attendants carrying a folded white garment. Serena looked flawless in soft green silk, fair skin glowing, golden hair pinned away from a face arranged in delicate sympathy. "The elders have decided you should be properly dressed for the preliminary altar reading," she said. Maya rose slowly. "I was told the trial was in 2 nights. The moon trial is. This is only a purity reading." One attendant unfolded the garment. It was a plain white shift with short sleeves and a low neckline designed to leave shoulders exposed. Maya's mark heated instantly beneath her dress, as if it knew the cloth was a trap before she did. "No," Serena blinked. "No, I will not wear that. Maya, modesty is sweet, but not useful. Sacred flame must see skin to judge corruption." Maya looked at the attendants, then back at Serena. "Sacred flame can judge me in sleeves." The smile remained, but Serena's eyes hardened. "You are making this harder than it needs to be." "For whom?" Serena stepped closer. Her perfume was pale and expensive, all lilies and clean cruelty. "You still do not understand. If you cooperate, the pack may pity you. If you resist, they will fear you. Pity can be survived. Fear cannot." Maya's fingers tightened around her skirt. "Is that what your father taught you?" Serena's expression flashed with anger, then smoothed again. "Elder Malcolm is not my father. No. He only seems proud of you." This time, Serena did not answer. She turned to the attendants. "Leave the garment." After they left, Maya sat on the bed and stared at the white shift until evening darkened the window. She did not put it on. When guards came for her at moonrise, she wore her own gray dress, buttoned to the throat. One guard looked relieved. The other looked afraid. They escorted her down the hall toward the moon chamber, but the path was different from before. Instead of the main court doors, they led her through a passage lined with ancient mirrors and silver plaques engraved with the names of Luna candidates from centuries past. Maya walked beneath those names with her shoulders squared, feeling small in the way old stone tried to make everyone small. Then the passage opened into the altar hall. It was not crowded this time, but the few present mattered more than a crowd. Elder Malcolm stood by the altar with 3 elders beside him. Dr. Iris Thorne, the royal healer, waited near a table of crystal instruments, her silver-streaked hair braided neatly down her back. Serena stood at the edge of the Luna platform, face serene. And Alpha King Adrian Blackthorne stood near the sacred flame, tall and silent in black, golden amber eyes fixed on Maya the moment she entered. The mark beneath her collar answered him with a pulse so bright she nearly stopped walking. Malcolm noticed the pause. "Do not be afraid, child." Maya looked at him. "You have spent years telling everyone I am broken. Do not call me child when you want them to watch." One of the elders inhaled sharply. Adrian's eyes changed, a flare of gold under control. Serena smiled toward the floor. Malcolm's expression did not move. "Place your hand on the moonstone." Maya looked at the altar. The moonstone's surface was wide and pale, veined with silver, surrounded by small white-blue flames that burned without smoke. It was forbidden to servants except during cleaning, and even then they were not allowed to touch it. Every Pack child knew the stories. The altar recognized true vows, royal blood, Luna rites, and sacred deception. It was supposed to remain cold beneath unworthy hands. Maya's mother's warning beat inside her head. Never let them see the mark under moonlight. But moonlight poured from the ceiling opening, and the mark was already awake. Adrian stepped forward before she could move. "This reading is not required before trial." Malcolm turned to him with grave patience. "It is recommended when forbidden scent magic involves royal instinct. Recommended is not law." "No, Your Majesty." "But refusal may be entered into the record." The words were polite. The threat was not. Maya saw Adrian's jaw tighten. Again, the room became a trap around him as much as her. If he stopped the reading, he looked influenced. If he allowed it, she paid the price. Maya hated that part of her wanted him to choose her anyway. She walked to the altar before anyone else could decide what her fear meant. "I will do it." Adrian looked at her. "Maya." Her name in his voice was softer than it had any right to be. She did not look back. "I would rather face stone than another person explaining me." Dr. Iris Thorne moved beside her. Unlike Malcolm, the healer did not pretend comfort. "It may feel cold. If the flame reacts sharply, pull away." "Will I be allowed to?" The healer's eyes flicked toward Malcolm, then returned to Maya. "I will make certain of it." That quiet promise steadied her more than Adrian's concern. Maya lifted her right hand and placed it on the moonstone. Nothing happened. For one heartbeat, the room seemed to lean toward disappointment. Serena's mouth curved. Malcolm's shoulders eased. Maya felt a terrible emptiness open inside her. Maybe she really was nothing. Maybe all the warmth beneath her skin was only fear given a shape. Then Adrian came closer. Not touching. Not interfering. Just close enough for his shadow to fall beside hers on the altar. The moonstone woke. Silver light flashed under Maya's palm and raced through the veins of the stone like lightning trapped under ice. The sacred flames rose, then bent toward her all at once. Dr. Thorne stepped back, eyes wide. Serena's smile vanished. The elders staggered into silence. Maya tried to pull her hand away, but the stone was not holding her. The truth was, heat surged from the hidden mark beneath her collar, down her shoulder, through her arm, and into the altar. White-blue flame turned silver. Not red. Not black. Not the color of forbidden scent magic. Silver, bright and clean as moonlight before dawn. Adrian's golden eyes flared, and a low sound moved through him, not anger, not threat, but recognition. "Impossible," one elder whispered. Malcolm moved so quickly his robe snapped around his legs. "Enough. The reading is contaminated." Dr. Thorne turned on him. "Contaminated by what?" "The altar is responding to her. It is responding to royal proximity. Royal proximity is standing behind her. The flame is bowing to her hand." Maya barely heard them. Beneath the rush of heat, something inside her stirred again. The wolf. Not a dream, not a sick thought, not a hunger created by loneliness. A living presence, vast and silver, waking behind the walls of a cage built before Maya knew her own name. The hidden mark on her shoulder began to glow through the fabric of her dress. Serena saw it first. Her face went white. "Cover her." Malcolm's voice cracked like a door slammed shut. "Now." "No," Adrian said. One word, low and absolute. Everyone froze. He stepped closer, stopping at Maya's side. "Let the healer see." Maya's heart pounded. The mark was visible now, shining beneath gray cloth in the shape of a crescent ringed by flame. Every warning her mother had ever given her screamed through memory. But there was no hiding anymore. Dr. Thorne lifted careful hands. "Maya, may I move your collar?" The question almost broke her. Permission. Not order. Not law. Not hands deciding her body belonged to the room. Maya swallowed. Yes. The healer gently shifted the fabric just enough to uncover the mark at the top of Maya's shoulder. Silver flame light spilled across the altar. The chamber went utterly silent. Dr. Thorne's face changed from caution to awe. "That is not an Omega sickness mark." Malcolm's expression hardened. "Doctor." She ignored him. "That is not a curse either." Adrian's voice was quiet. "Then what is it?" Dr. Thorne looked at Maya with something like sorrow. "It is a sleeping wolf seal." The words struck Maya softly, almost kindly, which made them more devastating. Sleeping. Not missing. Not broken. Sleeping. Her whole life shifted under that one word. Every failed shift, every bitter tonic, every lowered gaze, every cruel joke in the laundry yard, every night she had wondered why the moon felt like home she had been locked out of. Adrian turned slowly toward Malcolm. "You told the pack she had no wolf." Malcolm's eyes did not flicker. "The healer is speculating from an unstable reaction." "I am reading the altar," Dr. Thorne said. "And the altar says her wolf was suppressed by outside force." Serena recovered enough to speak, her voice soft but sharp. "Or she placed the seal herself to hide illegal magic." Maya looked at her then, and for the first time, did not feel beneath her. "I was 9 when the mark first appeared." Serena fell silent. Not from guilt. From calculation. Adrian looked back at Maya. His face held shock, guilt, and something more dangerous than both, hope. Maya stepped away from the altar, and the sacred flames followed her movement by several inches, bending like silver grass in wind. The elders whispered prayers under their breath. The moonstone remained lit where her hand had been. A perfect print glowed on its surface, shaped not like a human palm alone, but like the faint outline of a wolf's paw beneath it. Dr. Thorne whispered, "Ancient blood recognition." Malcolm struck his staff against the floor. "This reading is sealed until formal trial." Adrian turned fully toward him. "By whose authority?" "By elder authority under Old Moon Law. Then under Alpha authority, Maya Whitlock is removed from servant custody and placed under royal protection until the trial." Maya's head snapped toward him. "Royal protection?" Adrian met her eyes. "No one will give you tonic again without your consent." The word consent landed between them like a shield she had never been handed before. Malcolm's face darkened. Serena's fingers curled around the edge of her sleeve. They both understood what Maya was only beginning to realize. A broken Omega could be mocked. A servant accused of ambition could be discarded. But a girl whose hidden wolf woke the moonstone and bent sacred flame could not be thrown away quietly. As guards escorted Maya from the chamber, the silver light on the altar did not fade. It remained behind her, glowing for everyone to see, proof that something forbidden had not rejected her. It had recognized her. And far behind her, Maya heard Malcolm whisper to Serena, "If she stands under the full moon, everything ends." Maya was moved to the Royal Lodge before sunset, and the pack learned to call another cage by a prettier name. The lodge stood on the north side of Silver Fong Pack House, beyond the Moon Garden and the old cedar walkway, where visiting alpha families stayed during councils and winter summits. Servants polished its floors every week, though none of them were allowed to sleep there. Maya knew because she had polished those floors herself, kneeling beside carved furniture while women in silk complained that the rooms were drafty. Now 2 guards escorted her through the front doors as if she belonged to the very world that had stepped over her for years. She wore the same gray dress, the same worn shoes, the same braid falling over her left shoulder, but everything around her had changed. The walls were paneled in dark oak. The fireplace burned clean cedarwood. The windows were tall enough to show the full rise of the moon above the pine forest. On the table near the bed sat a tray with real supper, stew, bread, butter, sliced apples, and tea sweetened with honey. Maya stared at it for too long. The guard nearest the door cleared his throat. The Alpha King said you were to eat. Did he order my hunger too? The guard looked uncomfortable. No, miss. Mississippi. Not girl. Not Omega. Not broken one. The word felt strange enough to mistrust. After the guards left, Maya did not sit at the table. She went straight to the window and checked the latch, then the balcony door, then the space beneath the bed, then the adjoining washroom. Not because she planned to escape, although the thought lived close. Because she had survived too long among people who preferred her cornered. When she was certain no one was hidden behind the curtains, she pulled the high collar of her dress aside and looked at the mark on her shoulder in the mirror. The crescent ringed by silver flame had faded to a soft glow, but it no longer looked like a sickness. It looked like a secret that had outgrown fear. A knock sounded before she could cover it. Maya stiffened. Who is it? Adrian Blackthorn. Her heart betrayed her with one hard beat. Do Alpha Kings usually knock? Not often enough. The honesty unsettled her more than command would have. Maya buttoned her collar and opened the door only halfway. Adrian stood in the hall without guards close enough to listen, tall and broad-shouldered in a black coat without the ceremonial silver chains, his light olive skin warmed by lamplight, dark hair slightly disordered as if he had been running his hands through it, golden amber eyes fixed on her face with a restraint that felt deliberate. He did not look past her into the room. He waited at the threshold. May I come in? Maya almost laughed. Permission again. These people were discovering it like a foreign language. Why? Because Dr. Thorne is bringing the test results. Because Malcolm has already petitioned to return you to elder custody. And because if I stand in the hallway much longer, the guards will pretend not to gossip. Despite herself, Maya opened the door wider. 5 minutes. Adrian entered and stopped several feet from her, leaving the door open. The gesture was small. It mattered anyway. His gaze moved briefly to the untouched supper. You have not eaten. I was waiting to see whether it came with a law attached. His mouth tightened. Fair. Do not sound wounded. You did not grow up here. No, he said. But I have ruled long enough to know palaces hide chains under velvet. Maya folded her arms. And yet you let them place one around my name. The words landed between them with more force than she intended. Adrian absorbed them without looking away. Yes. She hated that he did not argue. Hated that he looked sorry and still remained the man who had not stopped the accusation when it first formed. You believe Serena. I believed evidence that appeared simple. Evidence is always simple when it points at someone no one protects. His jaw flexed. I know that now. No, Maya said. You are beginning to know it. For the first time, something like pain broke through his royal control. It made him look younger and more dangerous at once. Then teach me the rest. The request should have been clever. It should have felt like another way to make her serve. But his voice was too quiet for performance. Maya looked away first because the mark beneath her collar had begun to warm again, answering not his power, but his humility, and she did not trust any part of herself that still wanted to believe him. Dr. Iris Thorne arrived with a leather satchel and 2 sealed documents before Maya had to reply. The healer entered briskly, silver-streaked braids swinging over one shoulder, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed spectacles. She nodded to Maya first, then to the king. Good. You are both alive and no one is shouting. A promising start. Maya liked her immediately despite herself. Dr. Thorne spread the documents on the table and tapped the first page. The altar reading confirms 3 things. First, Maya Whitlock carries an active wolf presence. Not faint. Not damaged. Suppressed. Maya gripped the back of a chair. Even after hearing the words before, they still moved through her like sunrise into a locked room. Second, the healer continued, the suppression is tied to recurring ingestion of moon ash compounds. The tonic you were given was not calming medicine. Adrian's expression darkened. Maya felt colder than she had in the servant wing. What was it? A binding agent. It kept your wolf below shifting threshold and dulled your bond sense. Maya heard Malcolm's voice from years of doorways and exam rooms. For your own safety. A girl with your condition must be careful. Good girl. Her stomach turned. Adrian's hand moved as if he wanted to reach for her, but he stopped before crossing the space between them. Maya. She lifted a hand. Do not. He obeyed. Dr. Thorne watched that exchange with approval so faint most people would have missed it. Third, she said, softer now, the mark on your shoulder is old magic. Older than current Silverfang law. It will respond to moonlight, sacred flame, and royal proximity. Maya looked up sharply. Royal proximity? Adrian's eyes met hers. The room suddenly felt smaller. Dr. Thorne, either merciful or cruel, kept her tone clinical. His wolf may amplify the mark. Yours may amplify his. That does not prove guilt, manipulation, or consent. It proves resonance. Maya let out a breath. So I have to stay near him because of magic? You have to stay in protected space because Malcolm will try to regain control of you before the moon trial. You may need monitored exposure to moonlight if we are to understand the seal. The king's presence may stabilize the reaction. That sounds very convenient for the king. Adrian answered before the healer could. It is not convenient. Maya looked at him. His golden eyes held steady, but there was strain beneath the surface, the kind of restraint that made the air around him hum. My wolf has been pacing since you touched the altar, he said. It wants me near you. It wants me to remove every threat in this house. It does not care about law, appearances, or your right to be angry. I do. The honesty stole the room of sound. Maya had expected denial. Maybe command. Maybe the kind of possessive tenderness that still made a cage when wrapped in silk. She had not expected him to name the instinct and then refuse to let it rule her. Then keep caring, she said. His voice was low. I intend to. That should not have made heat rise in her face. She turned toward the window before he could see too much. Outside, the moon garden had begun to glow with small white lanterns. Beyond it, the pack house spread under twilight, full of rooms that had known her only as labor. From one of those rooms, Serena was likely planning how to turn the healer's findings into another accusation. From another, Malcolm was probably opening an old law book with hands that had poured tonic into Maya's life for 12 years. Why does he want me weak? Maya asked. Dr. Thorne's silence felt heavy. I do not know all of it yet. But you know part. The healer closed one document. I know Moonesh binding is expensive, restricted, and rarely used without political purpose. Adrian's voice hardened. Political purpose. A suppressed servant draws less attention than an awakened bloodline. Maya's pulse changed. Bloodline. Dr. Thorne looked at Adrian, then back to Maya. Not tonight. Maya stepped away from the chair. Do not do that. Do what? Tell me I am important enough to hide and not important enough to know why. Adrian turned to the healer. Tell her what you can. Dr. Thorne sighed. There are old Luna lines tied to sacred flame, female wolves whose marks did not wait to be chosen by an alpha. Their wolves recognized kings. Sometimes they blessed them. Sometimes they refused them. Maya almost smiled, but it came out wrong. That sounds like a story told to frighten arrogant men. Most useful stories are. Adrian did not smile. His attention was fixed on Maya's shoulder as if he could see through the cloth to the mark beneath. Malcolm would know those records. Yes, Dr. Thorne said. And Serena would know what an awakened Luna line means for her candidacy. Maya closed her eyes for 1 second. There it was. Not the full truth, but enough shape to fear. Her mother's warning, the tonic, the sealed ceremony records, Serena's accusation, Malcolm's urgency, the altar bending toward her. They were not afraid she had no wolf. They were afraid she did. Later that night, after Dr. Thorne left to search the archives and Adrian ordered additional guards who answered to him instead of the elders, Maya found herself walking beside the Alpha King through the moon garden because the healer insisted on brief moonlight exposure before sleep. The path curved through silver-leafed plants and dark pines. Lanterns hung from iron hooks. The air smelled of cedar, cold earth, and night flowers. Adrian walked a few feet away, never crowding her, but his presence pulled at every hidden part of her until the mark beneath her collar warmed in slow, dangerous rhythm. Stop doing that, she said. He looked genuinely confused. Doing what? Existing so loudly. A surprised laugh escaped him, low and brief. It changed his face for half a second, softening the dangerous lines into something Maya wished she had not seen. I will try to exist more quietly. You are bad at it. So I have been told by no one brave enough to say it twice. Maya looked at him despite herself. I am still angry. You should be. I do not trust you. You should not. And if your wolf thinks I belong to you, tell it to learn manners. Adrian stopped walking. Moonlight caught in his golden eyes. You do not belong to me, Maya. The words were simple. The bond inside her listened to them as if they were flame touching wax. Then why keep me here? She asked. Because the moment you leave royal protection, Malcolm will use old moon law to silence you before the trial. Because Dr. Thorne needs time. Because your wolf is waking, and I do not want you facing that alone unless you choose to. His voice lowered. And because I was wrong about you once. I will not let my mistake become their weapon twice. Maya wanted to answer sharply. She wanted to keep every wall exactly where it was. But then the mark on her shoulder flared under the moonlight, and she gasped before pride could stop her. Adrian stepped forward, then stopped himself again, hands curling at his sides. What do you need? Not, what is happening? Not, let me see. Not, come here. What do you need? Maya pressed her palm over the mark, breathing through the rush of silver heat. Deep inside, her wolf stretched, not fully awake, but closer than ever. I need the truth, she said. Adrian's face turned solemn. Then we start there. From an upper balcony of the pack house, unseen by both of them, Serena watched the moonlight gather around Maya's shoulders and understood at last that pity would no longer be enough to destroy her. By dawn, she was in Malcolm's private study, whispering, if the king will not reject her, make the law force him to. By the next morning, the Royal Lodge no longer felt like protection. It felt like the quiet center of a storm, the place where every hallway led back to Maya and every whisper learned her name before breakfast. Guards stood outside her door under Alpha King Adrian Blackthorne's command, but their presence did not stop the servants from staring when she passed or the elders from sending sealed messages through boys too young to understand why their hands shook. Maya wore a simple dark blue dress Dr. Thorne had found for her, high at the collar, long at the sleeves, plain enough not to look like a claim and clean enough to remind everyone she was no longer scrubbing their floors. Her pale ivory skin looked even paler under the lodge windows, and her long dark auburn hair was braided carefully over her left shoulder, hiding the mark that had begun to warm whenever moonlight touched the room. She had not taken the tonic in 2 days. That should not have sounded like rebellion, but in Silverfong Pack House, refusing the medicine they had used to name her broken felt almost like declaring war. Dr. Iris Thorne arrived after breakfast with her satchel, 3 old archive books, and a face that made Maya sit before anyone asked. Adrian came behind her, tall and silent in black, golden eyes watchful, his broad shoulders filling the doorway without crossing into the room until Maya nodded. That small pause did not erase anything, but it made the air easier to breathe. Dr. Thorne placed a vial of dark residue on the table. This is what remained in the tonic bottle taken from Elder Malcolm's cabinet. Maya stared at it. The liquid looked ordinary, dull black and slightly thick, no different from what she had swallowed for years. Under supervision. Moon ash, she asked. Moon ash, powdered silver root, and binding salt, the healer said. Enough to suppress a wolf's emergence over time, especially if given during childhood. Adrian's jaw tightened. Would it damage her permanently? Maya hated that the question sounded more frightened than royal. Dr. Thorne answered carefully. No permanent damage is evident yet. But the suppression trained her body to fear its own shift. It also blurred bond recognition. Maya looked at Adrian before she could stop herself. His eyes met hers, and for a second the room filled with the thing neither of them trusted enough to name. Recognition. Not proof. Not forgiveness. Something older than accusation, quieter than desire, and much more dangerous. Maya looked away first. Why would Malcolm do that to an Omega servant? Dr. Thorne opened the smallest archive book. Its pages were brittle, edged in silver, written in a script older than the current council. Because you were never only an Omega servant. The words landed softly, but they changed the room. Maya felt the mark beneath her collar pulse once. Adrian stepped closer to the table. Explain. Dr. Thorne turned the book toward them. An illustration covered the page, a crescent ringed by flame, nearly identical to the mark on Maya's shoulder. Beneath it were the words Ancient Luna Flame Line, recognized by Moonstone, Sacred Fire, and Royal Wolf. Maya read them once, then again, waiting for the letters to become something else. That cannot be mine. It is, Dr. Thorne said. The altar confirmed it. The flame did not react to corruption. It recognized a dormant bloodline. Adrian's voice was quiet. A Luna line. Older than the current Silver Fong succession. Rare. Female carried. Not dependent on alpha selection. Maya's fingers went numb against the table edge. For years, Serena had told her everyone had a place. Kitchen. Laundry. Stable. Floor. Silence. Now an ancient book claimed Maya's place had been buried so far beneath lies that even she had mistaken the dirt for truth. My mother, she whispered. Dr. Thorne's expression softened. Her name appears in damaged records from the old moon. Ceremony. Elara Whitlock was listed as a potential flameline heir before the page was altered. The room seemed to tilt. Maya saw the root cellar again, her mother's hands holding hers, the lavender shawl, the urgent whisper. Never let them see the mark under moonlight. She had thought her mother was protecting her from a curse. Maybe she had been protecting her from a crown. Adrian turned toward the healer. Who altered the record? Dr. Thorne closed the book with care. The page was removed and rewritten under elder authority. The handwriting must be verified, but the archive seal belongs to Malcolm Voss. Adrian went still in a way that made the lamp seem to dim. He erased her mother. He erased the possibility that Maya could awaken and challenge the Luna succession. Maya forced herself to stand. Stop saying that. Both of them looked at her. Her voice shook, but she did not lower it. Stop talking about succession as if my life was some throne problem. My mother disappeared. I was drugged for 12 years. I was told I was empty every time I could not become what the tonic was stopping me from becoming. Do not make that sound like politics. Dr. Thorne bowed her head. You are right. I am sorry. Adrian did not speak for a moment. Then he said, so am I. Maya looked at him sharply. Do not collect apologies that are not yours. This one is mine. His golden eyes held hers. I stood in that chamber and let Malcolm frame the question. I looked at a vial instead of looking at you. I knew something was wrong, and I called my hesitation caution. You barely knew me. I knew enough to ask your name. I should have known enough to question why everyone wanted you nameless again. The words found a bruise she had not known was still open. Maya stepped back from them, from the table, from the book that said she was something old and dangerous, from the Alpha King who was beginning to sound like the man her wolf already trusted. What happens now? She asked. Dr. Thorne gathered the papers. Now Malcolm will try to force the full moon trial before we can restore the missing records. He will say your awakening is unstable. He will demand proof of shift. Maya's mouth went dry. I have never shifted. Because you were suppressed. That does not mean I can do it in front of the whole pack in 2 nights. Adrian moved as if he wanted to offer something, then stopped. You do not have to prove yourself to people who harmed you. Maya almost smiled. Tell that to their law. Dr. Thorne's silence answered. Old Moon Law did not care why a wolf was silent. It cared only what it could force the body to show. At noon, Adrian ordered a private review of the old archives beneath the moon chamber. Maya insisted on going. If my name is hidden there, I am not waiting upstairs while men decide which pieces I may hear. Adrian looked as if he might object for practical reasons and thought better of it. Then you walk beside me. Not behind. Never again. The archive beneath Silver Fong Pack House smelled of stone dust, cedar oil, and secrets left too long in boxes. Shelves rose 12 feet high, stacked with ledgers, ceremony rolls, bloodline maps, and old succession seals. Maya walked between them with Dr. Thorne on one side and Adrian on the other, feeling the strange pressure of being guarded by the same power she still did not fully trust. The mark on her shoulder warmed near a locked cabinet at the far wall. Maya stopped. Adrian noticed at once. There. She nodded. The cabinet was marked with Malcolm's elder seal. Dr. Thorne examined the lock. I need authorization. Adrian placed his hand above the seal. You have mine. The lock opened with a soft click. Inside were rolls of parchment wrapped in black cord. Dr. Thorne pulled the first one free and went pale. These are not ceremony copies. These are originals. Maya leaned closer. There, beneath faded ink, was her mother's name. Alara Whitlock, Flameline candidate, blood verified. Below it, another line had been scraped nearly clean, but enough remained for Dr. Thorne to read. Female airborne under silver moon. Protected status pending awakening. Maya's breath caught. Me. Adrian's voice was low. You. Before the moment could settle, footsteps sounded at the archive entrance. Serena Vale stood there in pale rose silk, fair face calm, golden hair perfect, eyes fixed on the open cabinet. She should not have been allowed past the guards. The fact that she was told Maya enough. Serena looked from the parchment to Maya's face, then to Adrian standing beside her. Understanding moved through her expression first. Then fear. Real fear, stripped of sweetness. So it is true, she said. You are not trying to steal a place. You were born near one. Maya held the parchment tighter. You knew there was a place to steal. Serena's eyes hardened. I know what happens when a pack lets old magic choose for it. Bloodline legends are dangerous. Girls like you become symbols, and symbols make people reckless. Adrian stepped forward. Leave. Serena looked at him, hurt sharpening into accusation. You are protecting her now because your wolf wants her. I am protecting her because the elders lied. And if both are true? The question struck the room. Maya felt Adrian's silence beside her. Serena smiled faintly, sensing the wound. Poor Maya. Does it comfort you, being defended by instinct? Or do you wonder whether he would choose you without the flame telling him to? Maya did not want the words to matter. They did. They slid beneath her ribs and found the exact fear she had not spoken, that Adrian's attention was not belief, only bond pressure, that he saw a rare mark, an old bloodline, a wolf that could recognize kings and mistook awe for care. Adrian's voice turned cold. Do not speak to her. Why? Because I am cruel, or because I am correct? Serena looked at Maya now. He doubted you when you were only a servant. Now the altar glows, and suddenly he is noble. Ask yourself which part of you changed his mind. Maya's fingers tightened around the parchment until it crinkled. The worst lies were not false. They were truths sharpened out of order. Adrian said, Maya. She stepped away from him. Not far. Enough. His face changed, pain flickering beneath control. Serena saw it and smiled. Dr. Thorne turned sharply toward the doorway. You should not be here. Neither should she, Serena said softly. Not if Malcolm has anything to say about the trial. She left before Adrian could order a guard, her pale skirts whispering over the stone like a secret retreating into darkness. By evening, the whole pack had heard a new rumor. Maya carried old flame magic that could control alpha blood. By nightfall, elders loyal to Malcolm had gathered in the council hall. By midnight, the ruling was posted outside the royal lodge. Maya Whitlock would stand at Moon trial under full pack witness. She would shift by Moon command and prove stable wolf status, or be declared a danger under Old Moon law. If the Alpha King interfered, his judgment would be considered bond compromised. Maya read the notice twice under the hallway lamps. The words blurred only once. Adrian stood beside her, fury quiet, in every line of his body. I can suspend this. No, Maya said. If you suspend it, they will say Serena was right. I do not care what Serena says. I do. She looked at him then, silver-gray eyes burning with fear she refused to hide. Because she used the right knife. I need to know whether you believe me when the flame is not glowing. Adrian's expression broke open, not dramatically, not enough for anyone else to see, but enough for Maya. I believe you. Then do not save me from the trial. Help me find out how to stand in it. Behind the closed council doors, Elder Malcolm listened to Serena's report and finally understood the problem was no longer a broken Omega awakening. It was an Alpha King learning to wait for her consent. That made Maya more dangerous than any flame mark. Because if the pack saw her choose, and saw him kneel to that choice, the old laws would lose their teeth. By the morning of the moon trial, Silver Fongpak House had stopped pretending Maya was only an accused servant. Now they treated her like a locked door they feared someone might open. Elders crossed themselves with old moon signs when she passed. Warriors watched her with hands folded tightly behind their backs. Servants who had once shared bread with her stepped away as if kindness toward her might be entered into evidence. Maya walked through all of it in the dark blue dress Dr. Thorne had given her, her pale ivory skin nearly colorless from 2 nights without sleep, her long dark auburn braid falling over her shoulder. Her silver-gray eyes dry and alert because tears would have been too easy for the pack to interpret. If she cried, she was unstable. If she stayed calm, she was hiding something. If she leaned toward Adrian, she was using the bond. If she avoided him, she was proof the bond was false. Old Moonlaw had made a maze out of her body, and every path was labeled guilt. Dr. Thorne met her outside the Royal Lodge with a small leather case and a face set in grim lines. Adrian stood beside the healer, tall and silent in a black trial coat, his broad shoulders rigid, his golden amber eyes burning with restrained anger beneath the shadows of sleeplessness. He looked at Maya as if he had 1,000 things to say and trusted none of them to help. That restraint hurt more than command would have. Maya had asked him not to save her from the trial. He was obeying. Obedience, she discovered, could feel like abandonment when fear was loud enough. The archives were blocked, Dr. Thorne said quietly. Malcolm sealed the old succession cabinet under emergency elder privilege. Maya looked toward the moon chamber wing. So we have no full proof. We have the page we copied, the tonic analysis, and the altar reading. Half a truth against a whole law, Maya said. Adrian stepped closer, stopping before the mark beneath her collar could flare too brightly. I can still challenge the law. And they will say your wolf is speaking for you. Let them. Maya shook her head. No. If you break the law for me before I stand, I become Serena's story. A servant who bewitched a king and hid behind his power. His jaw tightened. You are asking me to watch them put you through something unjust. No, she said, though her voice almost failed. I am asking you to remember every second of it. The trial began at dusk instead of full moonrise, because Malcolm wanted the pack gathered long enough for fear to ripen. The moon trial circle had been set outside beyond the pack house, in the clearing where 12 standing stones surrounded the sacred altar. Pine trees rose black against the bruised purple sky. Lanterns hung from iron hooks. Hundreds of wolves stood in widening rings, servants at the back, warriors near the stones, elders closest to the altar, noble families under silver canopies, and Luna candidates on a raised platform draped in white. Serena sat at the center of that platform in a flawless gown, fair skin glowing, golden hair arranged like a crown, her expression tender with public sorrow. She looked as though she mourned what had to be done to Maya. That was Serena's gift. She could make cruelty look like sacrifice. Malcolm stood at the altar with the old moon law scroll unrolled before him. His dark robes moved in the wind. His face was calm, almost grandfatherly, which made Maya's stomach turn. This was the man who had handed her tonic after tonic, year after year, while telling her she was safer asleep. Maya Whitlock, he called, step into the circle. Maya stepped forward. Whispers rose and fell around her. Broken Omega. Flame Witch. False Mate. Poor thing. Dangerous thing. She focused on the ground beneath her shoes, dry grass and old stone, then lifted her eyes to the altar where white-blue flame burned low. Adrian stood across from her, not on the throne platform, not beside the elders, but at the edge of the circle as royal witness. The distance between them felt enormous. Malcolm saw her glance and used it. Under Old Moon law, the accused must prove stable wolf presence. If she cannot shift under moon command, she is fraud. If she shifts in uncontrolled flame, she is danger. If royal interference occurs, the trial is void and the accused remains under elder custody until judgment. The pack murmured approval because law always sounded reasonable when it was not wrapped around their throats. Maya looked at Dr. Thorne. The healer's face was pale. There it was, the blade hidden in ceremony. Shift, and be called dangerous. fail, and be called fraud. Accept Adrian's help, and be called manipulator. Refuse it, and stand alone with a wolf that had only just begun to breathe. Serena rose from the Luna platform. Before the trial begins, I ask permission to speak as candidate witness. Malcolm nodded before anyone else could object. Serena descended the steps slowly, every movement graceful enough for sympathy. She stopped several feet from Maya, close enough for the crowd to see her softness, far enough to remain safe from any truth in Maya's eyes. Maya, she said, voice carrying, I know you believe we hate you. But no one wants to see you hurt. If you admit confusion, if you admit the bond sensations began after exposure to forbidden scent, the elders may show mercy. Maya stared at her. You planted the vial. Gasps moved through the pack. Serena's eyes filled instantly. I understand why you need someone to blame. You do not understand me at all. Serena's tears trembled beautifully but did not fall. Then help us understand. Why would a hidden Luna bloodline grow up in a servant wing unless there was something wrong with it? Why would your own mother hide your mark unless she feared what you might become? The question struck so cleanly that for a moment Maya lost the sound of the crowd. Her mother had hidden the mark. Her mother had told her never to show it. What if fear had been love, yes, but also warning? What if the flame was not crown but danger? What if Malcolm had lied about the cure but not about the sickness? Serena saw the doubt and stepped closer. The Alpha King feels drawn to you because old magic is pulling at him. That is not love. That is not belief. That is instinct wearing a noble face. Maya's gaze moved, against her will, to Adrian. His golden eyes were fixed on Serena with a coldness that would have frightened most people. Serena welcomed it. See, she whispered loudly enough to be heard. Even now, he burns because of you. If he claims you tonight, will you ever know whether he chose Maya or the flame did? Maya looked away first. Pain, old and new, settled under her ribs. Adrian's voice cut through the clearing. Serena, return to the platform. Malcolm lifted his staff. Your Majesty, candidate witness has standing. She has venom. And you have conflict. The elder turned to the pack. This is why the law must speak where bond cannot. The crowd murmured again, louder this time, fear finding rhythm. Maya felt the trial slipping away from evidence into story, and story was the place Serena always won. Dr. Thorne stepped forward with a tonic report. The law should also hear that Maya Whitlock was suppressed with moon ash for 12 years. Malcolm did not flinch. Medical interpretation is disputed. By whom? By elder review. You are the elder under review. A few wolves shifted uneasily, but Malcolm raised the scroll. The trial cannot become a debate over childhood treatment. The question tonight is simple. Does she carry a stable wolf, or does she carry dangerous flame? Maya almost laughed. He had done it again. He had turned years of theft into a question about whether she was safe enough to deserve freedom. Adrian moved one step forward. The sacred flame nearest him flickered gold. Malcolm's gaze snapped to it. Careful, Your Majesty. Maya saw Adrian stop. She saw what it cost him. Then she saw the pack see it too, and heard the whispers change. He wants to help her. He is not thinking clearly. The flame has him. The words circled her like smoke. She had told him not to interfere. Now his restraint became proof of distance, and his concern became proof of corruption. There was no winning inside a law designed by men who feared losing. Malcolm placed a silver bowl on the altar. Inside it was dark liquid. Maya smelled it from where she stood and went cold. Tonic. As part of stabilization, the accused will drink the elder tonic before moon command. Dr. Thorne's voice sharpened. Absolutely not. Adrian's eyes flashed. No, Malcolm looked almost pleased. Refusal to stabilize may be entered as evidence of reckless intent. Maya stared at the bowl. Her whole childhood sat inside it. Fog. Weakness. Good girl. Empty wolf dreams. A life spent mistaking suppression for safety because the people around her called it medicine. Her hands shook. She hated that they could see it. Serena's voice softened. If you're not dangerous, Maya, why fear the tonic? Because it stole me, Maya wanted to say. Because my mother told me to survive it. Because every time I drank, the part of me that might have fought you went quiet. But the pack did not know her mother's voice. They knew Malcolm's. They knew law. They knew fear. Malcolm lifted the bowl toward her. Drink, or be declared unstable before shift command. Adrian said her name, low and fierce. She could feel him at the edge of the circle, feel his wolf straining against every rule that held him back. One word from her, and he would shatter the ceremony. She knew it. Serena knew it. Malcolm knew it. That was the final trap. If Maya asked for rescue, she would survive the moment and lose the meaning of standing. If she did not, she might lose herself in front of everyone. Maya walked to the altar. Each step felt impossibly long. The sacred flame bent toward her, silver hidden beneath white-blue tips. She reached for the bowl. Adrian's voice broke through the clearing. Maya, you do not have to prove your pain to them. Her fingers paused on the rim. For one breath, the entire pack waited. Maya looked at him, at the Alpha King who had doubted her, then defended her, then learned the terrible discipline of letting her choose even when choice terrified him. Her heart ached with wanting to trust that. But wanting was not enough. No, she said softly. The word was for the bowl, for Malcolm, for Serena, for 12 years of swallowed silence. Then she turned so the whole pack could hear. I will not drink what was used to bury my wolf and call it safety. Malcolm's face hardened. Then you stand as unstable. I stand as awake. A ripple passed through the crowd. Serena's eyes narrowed. Malcolm lifted the staff, voice ringing cold through the clearing. Then by old moon law, if she fails to shift at full moonrise, she is fraud. If flame manifests without control, she is danger. If the Alpha King interferes, she is removed from royal protection and placed under elder judgment. The words settled like a sentence over the clearing. Maya felt every possible future narrowing. She looked at Adrian, but he could not come to her. She looked at Dr. Thorne, but the healer could not shield her from law. She looked at Serena and saw victory already blooming. The moon began to rise above the pines, round and silver-white, pouring light over the altar. The mark beneath Maya's collar woke with a rush of heat so sudden she gasped. The pack heard it. The sacred flames rose higher. Too high. Whispers became alarm. Control it, Malcolm. Commanded. Maya pressed both hands against her shoulder, trying to breathe, trying to reach the wolf inside without fear, but Serena's words echoed like poison. Dangerous. Instinct. Not love. Not belief. The flame does not choose you. It uses you. For the first time since the mark awakened, Maya wanted the old tonic. Not because she trusted it. Because it would make the power stop asking her to be brave. That shame nearly broke her. Silver light spilled through the seams of her dress. Wolves stepped backward. Serena covered her mouth in perfect horror. Malcolm turned to the pack. You see? Without elder restraint, she endangers the circle. Adrian took another step, then stopped when Maya looked at him and shook her head, tears finally burning in her eyes. Do not save me like this. He understood. The moon climbed higher. The flames surged again, wild around the altar, but touching no one, bright enough to paint every face silver. Maya fell to one knee, not from attack, not from force, but from the weight of holding back a lifetime of stolen power with a body taught to fear itself. The crowd blurred. Malcolm raised his voice. At full moonrise, the Alpha King must reject all bond influence and prove the realm is not ruled by unstable flame. Serena stood beside him now, pale gold in moonlight, eyes fixed on Adrian. Reject her publicly, she said, voice sweet and clear. Or let the pack believe you are no longer free. Maya looked across the fire at Adrian. The whole world held its breath between them. If he refused, the pack would call him bewitched. If he obeyed, Maya would hear the one sentence every part of her still feared. And the moon was almost full. The moon reached its highest edge above the pines, and every wolf in the clearing waited for the Alpha King to choose law over the girl kneeling in silver flame. Maya could feel their hunger for it, not because they all hated her, but because fear wanted a clean ending. If Adrian rejected the bond, then the pack could call her unstable and still sleep beneath familiar rules. If he refused, then Elder Malcolm would say the throne had fallen under Omega magic. Either way, the old law had found its favorite shape, a woman on her knees while powerful men decided what her body meant. The sacred flames rose around the moon altar, bright but strangely gentle, bending toward Maya without touching her skin. Her pale ivory face was wet with tears she had not meant to shed, her long dark auburn braid loosened over one shoulder, and the hidden mark beneath her collar glowed so strongly that silver light bled through the blue fabric of her dress. Across the altar, Adrian Blackthorne stood in black and silver, tall and still, his light olive skin pale under moonlight, his golden amber eyes fixed on her with a pain that looked too honest to be useful. Serena Vale stood beside Elder Malcolm, fair and flawless in pale gold, her expression sweet with victory. "Reject her," Serena said, voice carrying through the clearing. "Prove the crown is free." Malcolm lifted the old moon law scroll. Before Pack, Moon, Flame, and Witness, the Alpha King must reject all unstable bond influence. Adrian looked at the scroll, then at the elders, then at the hundreds of faces waiting for him to make Maya small enough for them to understand. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm, and that calm frightened even Malcolm. "Very well." The clearing went silent. Maya's heart seemed to stop. She had told him not to save her by breaking the law. She had not known there was a worse way to obey. Adrian stepped toward the altar. The silver flames leaned toward him too, not bowing, not welcoming, but listening. He stopped several feet from Maya, far enough that no one could say he held her upright, close enough that she could see the gold in his eyes flicker with something fierce and controlled. "Maya Whitlock," he said. Her name moved through the pack like a final bell. Serena's mouth curved. Malcolm's hand tightened on the scroll. Maya forced herself to look at Adrian because if he was going to break what little hope remained, he would do it while she stood inside herself, not hidden behind fear. Before Moon, Flame, and Witness, Adrian continued, "I reject the lie that your worth depends on whether I choose you." The silence cracked, but no one spoke. Serena's smile faltered. Malcolm's brows drew together. Adrian turned away from Maya and faced the pack. "I reject the lie that a woman becomes dangerous because men cannot control what wakes inside her. I reject the lie that an Omega's pain becomes law simply because elders write it in old ink. And I reject every ruling that calls fear stability while using a stolen voice as proof." The clearing erupted into whispers. Malcolm struck his staff against the altar stone. "This is not the required rejection." Adrian's gaze cut to him. "No, it is the true one." The sacred flames surged silver, rising higher but still harming nothing, as if the altar itself approved the distinction. Maya stared at Adrian, trembling not from weakness now, but from the shock of a door opening where she expected a wall. Serena moved quickly. "Your Majesty is twisting the right. The law demands rejection of the bond." "The law demanded a trial," Adrian said. "So let the trial hear all evidence." He lifted one hand. At the edge of the clearing, Dr. Iris Thorne stepped forward with a sealed leather case. Behind her came two young guards carrying a locked archive box, and between them walked Mrs. Hale, the housekeeper, her face gray with fear but set with resolve. Malcolm's expression changed for the first time. Not much. Enough for the pack to see. Serena turned sharply toward him. "What is this?" Adrian answered, "The truth you tried to reach before moonrise." Dr. Thorne opened the leather case and held up 3 documents. The tonic administered to Maya Whitlock for 12 years contained moon ash, binding salt, and silver root. It did not treat Omega sickness. It suppressed wolf emergence. Gasps moved through the servants first. They knew the tonic. They had watched Maya drink it. They had believed, as Maya had believed, that medicine meant mercy. Dr. Thorne continued, voice firm. "The altar reading confirms an active wolf presence. Suppressed, not absent. The mark on her shoulder matches an ancient Luna flame line recorded in pre-council archives." Malcolm snapped, speculation. Adrian looked toward Mrs. Hale. The housekeeper stepped forward, hands shaking around a folded paper. "I kept the delivery slips," she said, voice thin but audible. Elder Malcolm ordered the tonic personally every month. He said it was for the girl's condition. But after the altar reacted, I checked the old kitchen ledger. The same ingredients were delivered the night Lady Alara Whitlock disappeared. Maya's breath caught at her mother's name. The flame around her softened, curling close to the ground like something grieving with her. Malcolm's voice turned cold. House servants misunderstand supplies. Not when they count them for 12 years, Mrs. Hale whispered. Then she lowered her head toward Maya, not fully, not enough to erase the past, but enough to admit it existed. I am sorry, child. Maya could not answer. The word child hurt differently from her mouth than from Malcolm's. It carried regret, not ownership. Adrian opened the archive box himself. The original moon ceremony roll was found behind a false panel in Malcolm's private study. The elders closest to him recoiled as if the box itself accused them. Adrian unrolled the parchment across the altar, careful not to touch Maya, careful to let the pack see the old silver seal at the bottom. Read it, he said to the oldest neutral elder, a white-haired woman named Rowan Elder Celia, who had remained silent all night. Malcolm tried to step between them. That document is restricted. Adrian's voice did not rise. Move. One word. Alpha King. The entire clearing felt it. Malcolm moved, not because he wanted to, but because everyone had just watched his law become too heavy for him to carry alone. Elder Celia read the parchment under moonlight. Her face changed line by line. Alara Whitlock, verified flameline candidate. Female airborne under silver moon. Protected status pending awakening. Her eyes lifted to Maya. The child's name is Maya. The pack went utterly still. Not silent in confusion now. Silent in recognition. Maya felt the sound of her own name return to her from the mouths of ancestors she had never been allowed to know. Serena stepped back. Old records do not prove she is safe. Dr. Thorne turned toward her. No, but they prove she was hidden. Adrian faced Malcolm. Why? Malcolm's lips pressed into a thin line. For a moment, Maya thought he would deny everything to the end. Then he looked at the flames bending around her and understood, perhaps, that the altar he had used as a weapon had stopped obeying him. Because flameline wolves do not stabilize packs, he said at last, each word precise and bitter. They disrupt them. They choose. They refuse. They make Alpha Kings answer to old magic instead of council wisdom. Maya slowly rose from one knee. The movement hurt, but the flame rose with her, supporting without holding. My mother, she said. Malcolm's eyes flicked to her. Your mother would have torn Silver Fong apart with her claims. What happened to her? The question moved through the clearing and returned colder. Malcolm's face did not soften. She ran. Mrs. Hale shook her head. No, everyone turned. The housekeeper looked terrified now, but she did not step back. She did not run. I saw her taken to the East Carriage Road after the ceremony. She was alive. She was told the child would be safe if she left the pack and never returned. Maya's heart cracked so quietly no one else could hear it. Her mother had not abandoned her. She had been pushed out of Maya's life and turned into another lesson about shame. Serena's composure fractured. This changes nothing. Even if Maya has old blood, the flame is uncontrolled. Look at her. Look at the altar. She cannot shift without endangering the pack. She cannot shift, Adrian said, because you helped keep her wolf asleep. Serena's eyes flashed. I protected the Luna succession from chaos. There it was. Spoken beneath the moon, stripped of sweetness. She realized it too late. The pack heard. The Luna candidates heard. The servants heard. Everyone froze. Maya looked at Serena, and for the first time, pity moved through her anger. Not forgiveness. Pity. Serena had spent her life polishing herself into the shape of power, only to fear a servant girl whose greatest crime was surviving the truth. Malcolm lifted the staff one final time. The trial continues. If she is flameline, let her shift. Let the pack see whether she is blessing or danger. The challenge settled over Maya with terrible weight. Proof again. Always proof. Bleed the truth dry and call it fairness. Adrian turned to her. You do not have to do this. Maya looked at him through the silver light. Yes, I do. His face tightened. Not for them. No, she said. For me. She stepped onto the moon altar before fear could change its mind. The flame parted around her ankles, bright and cool, illuminating the mark beneath her collar until the fabric could not hide it anymore. Dr. Thorne reached forward, but Maya shook her head. Slowly, with hands that trembled only once, she unbuttoned the top of her dress enough to reveal the crescent flame mark on her shoulder to the whole pack. No one laughed. No one called her broken. The moonlight touched the mark and the world inside Maya opened. Her wolf did not rush out like a monster from a cage. It rose like a queen standing after a long sleep. Silver warmth filled Maya's chest, her arms, her breath. The flame circled the altar in a wide ring, touching no person, burning no cloth, bright enough to make the standing stones shine with old script. Maya closed her eyes and reached inward. I am afraid, she admitted. The wolf answered with breath, not words, and the fear did not vanish. It simply stopped being the strongest thing in her. Across the altar, Adrian lowered himself to one knee. The pack gasped. Malcolm stared. Serena went pale. The Alpha King bowed his head before the accused Omega, before she shifted, before proof could reward him. Maya Whitlock, he said, voice carrying through the firelit clearing, I believed evidence before I believed the girl standing in front of me. I let the law name you before I learned your truth. I will not claim you to control this flame. I will not touch this bond without your consent. But before the whole pack, I choose to stand with you, whether your wolf marks me, refuses me, or walks away from me. The words struck Maya more deeply than the rejection threat ever could. Not because they healed everything. They did not. Because they gave her room to become without asking what shape would benefit him. The mark on her shoulder blazed. Maya's wolf opened fully behind her eyes. Silver flame rose in a crown-like arc, and for one impossible second the clearing saw it, not a full body of fur and teeth, not something savage or unsafe, but the luminous outline of a great silver wolf standing behind Maya, its eyes bright as moonlit steel. The wolf turned its gaze on Adrian. He remained kneeling. It looked at the elders. Several lowered their heads. It looked at Serena, who stepped back as if beauty could not protect her from being seen clearly. Then the wolf moved through Maya, not away from her, but with her. Maya lifted her left hand. Silver flame gathered around her wrist, shaping the same crescent that burned on her shoulder. Adrian looked up. Maya? She heard the question beneath her name. Is this your choice? She answered by stepping closer. The flame crossed the distance between them, gentle as breath, bright as judgment, and settled against Adrian's open palm. He did not seize it. He did not close his hand. He waited. Maya placed her hand over his. The silver crescent appeared on his skin, the mirror of hers, not forced by his claim, not imposed by his crown, but given by the awakened wolf the pack had tried to silence. The sacred flames bent outward in a perfect circle. The moon altar flared once, and every standing stone answered with ancient silver script. Dr. Thorne whispered, flame bond recognition. Elder Celia sank to one knee. Then another elder followed. Then a row of warriors. Then servants, some crying openly. The pack knelt not because Adrian commanded it, but because the moon had finished the sentence the law tried to twist. Malcolm stood alone for 3 breaths too long. Adrian rose, the silver mark glowing on his palm, and turned to the elder. Malcolm Voss, by witnessed confession, hidden archive, unlawful suppression, and manipulation of moon trial law, you are removed from elder authority pending tribunal. Malcolm's staff lowered. No one stepped forward to defend him. Serena's voice came thin and desperate. And me? Maya looked at her before Adrian could speak. The flame around her softened, but did not fade. You will stand where you placed me, Maya said. In front of the pack, without silk strong enough to hide what you did. Serena's face twisted, but no answer came. Adrian turned to the entire clearing. Let the record show Maya Whitlock is not broken. Let it show her mother's line was hidden. Let it show the tonic was not medicine, the accusation was manufactured, and the moon trial was used to force fear into the shape of justice. Then he looked back at Maya, and all the power in him quieted. "What do you want now?" The pack waited. Serena waited. Malcolm waited. The flames waited too. Maya looked at the kneeling wolves, at the altar, at the mark on Adrian's palm, and at the moon that had watched her whole life, without speaking until now. "I want the trial ended," she said. "I want every record opened. I want my mother's name restored. And I want everyone here to remember that I did not become worthy when Flame appeared. I was worthy when you called me nothing." Adrian bowed his head. "Then that is where we begin." Maya stepped down from the altar on her own feet. The silver wolf light remained behind her for a moment, vast and calm, then folded back into her skin. As the pack stayed kneeling, Adrian offered his marked hand, not as command, not as claim, but as question. Maya looked at it, let the whole clearing wait, and placed her hand in his only when she was ready. For 3 nights after the moon trial, no one in Silverfong Pack House said the word broken where Maya Whitlock could hear it. The silence was not kindness yet. It was shock learning how to become respect. The same servants who had once watched her carry trays now stepped aside when she walked through the corridors, not because she demanded it, but because the completed flame mark on her shoulder glowed faintly under her collar whenever moonlight touched the windows. Maya did not wear silk. She did not move into the Luna chamber. She did not let the pack turn her pain into a celebration before the truth had finished its work. The first order she gave was not about gowns, ceremonies, or royal seating. It was about the tonic. Every bottle in the infirmary, kitchen stores, elder wing, and servant wing was collected, tested by Dr. Iris Thorne, and destroyed under healer supervision. Every Omega child in the pack was examined privately, with consent, and every medical record sealed by elder authority was reopened. Maya stood beside Dr. Thorne while it happened, pale ivory face calm, silver gray eyes steady, long dark auburn hair braided simply down her back, because she wanted every servant to see that power could enter a room without becoming another threat. Elder Malcolm Voss was removed from his chambers before tribunal and stripped of staff, seal, and voting authority. His punishment was not dramatic enough for those who wanted spectacle, but it was exact. Every law he had used against Maya was read aloud before the pack, then suspended by Alpha King Adrian Blackthorne pending full repeal. Every family harmed by false elder medicine received crown protection and public apology. Malcolm's private archives were opened, and within them the pack found letters proving Alara Whitlock had not abandoned her daughter. She had been forced from Silverfong under threat that Maya would be declared unstable if she returned. The truth did not bring Maya's mother back, but it returned her name. In the Great Hall, beneath the same banners that had watched Maya scrub floors, Adrian ordered Alara Whitlock's record restored to the Luna line. Maya stood alone when it was read, one hand pressed to the mark on her shoulder, and for the first time grief did not feel like proof of weakness. It felt like inheritance. Serena Vale lost the Luna platform before the next moonrise. Her jewels, candidate seal, and witness rights were removed in front of the council she had tried to charm. She was not harmed. She was not given a martyr story. She was sent to serve under healer supervision in the outer villages, where every day she would help the same low-ranked wolves she once looked past. When she passed Maya in the corridor before leaving, her fair face was pale with humiliation. "You have everything now," Serena whispered. Maya looked at her quietly. "No, I have what you failed to take." Serena had no answer for that. Adrian did not ask Maya to forgive him during those 3 nights. That mattered more than flowers would have. He walked beside her during record hearings, stood behind her during Omega petitions, and remained silent when she spoke, not because he had no power, but because he was learning not to spend it over her voice. At dawn on the 4th day, Maya found him in the moon garden where silver-leafed plants shone with dew and the altar stones could be seen beyond the pines. He wore no crown, only a black coat open at the throat, his light olive skin warm in the early light, dark hair slightly wind-touched, golden amber eyes softer than the court ever saw them. The crescent mark on his palm glowed when she approached. "Does it hurt?" she asked. "No," he looked at her shoulder. "Yours?" "No," a quiet passed between them, gentle and unfamiliar. For most of her life, Maya had known her body through discomfort, suppression, and shame. Now the mark felt warm, alive, and hers. Adrian bowed his head. I am sorry for the trial. For the doubt before it. For every moment I let loss stand closer to you than I did. Maya looked toward the altar where she had nearly lost everything. I needed you to believe me before I became proof. His voice roughened. I know. Do you? I am learning it the hard way. She studied him then, this alpha king who had looked like judgment when the story began and now stood before her without command. That is the only way that counts. On the first full moon after the tribunal, Silver Fang Pack gathered again, but this time no one dragged Maya into the circle. She walked there herself. She wore a deep silver-blue gown with long sleeves and no veil, her pale ivory skin healthy in the moonlight, her long dark auburn hair loose over her shoulders, her silver-gray eyes clear and unlowered. The crescent flame mark on her shoulder was visible by choice. Adrian waited at the edge of the altar, tall and broad-shouldered, golden eyes fixed on her not with possession, but reverence. Dr. Thorne stood as healer witness. Lily stood in the front row of servants, crying openly and smiling anyway. Elder Celia held the restored Luna record. The priest asked Maya if she accepted the Flameline title and the bond recognized by Moon, Wolf, and Witness. Maya looked first at the pack. I was not empty when you called me broken. I was not false when you called me dangerous. I was not made worthy by flame, crown, or king. I was worthy before any of you knew how to see me. Then she turned to Adrian. And I will not stand behind an alpha who forgets that. Adrian lowered himself to one knee before her, his marked palm open. Then stand beside one who intends to remember. Maya let the whole pack wait, because waiting for an Omega's choice was the first new law she wanted them to learn. Then she placed her hand over his. Silver flame rose around them in a quiet circle, bright and harmless, shaping above Maya's head not a crown of metal, but a crown of moonlit fire. The pack knelt. Adrian remained kneeling until Maya touched his cheek and asked him to rise. When he stood beside her, not before her, the flame mark on his palm answered the one on her shoulder, and for the first time in Silver Fang memory, the Luna bond was not taken, not granted, not forced by old law. It was chosen. Maya Whitlock looked over the kneeling pack, the altar, the moon, and the Alpha King who had finally learned that love without trust was only another cage. Then she took Adrian's hand, stepped forward into her own light, and let her awakened wolf howl through the flame, not as a warning, but as a beginning.